So, hi everyone, welcome to the while loop session. And yes, I know it's been really long time. Everybody was like,
ए बाल निकाल नहीं तो सुबह का सूरज नहीं देखेगा तू निकाल
so basically, this is how I felt. And so, I have added all the video, entire video while loop. Please watch it. And in the end, I've also asked two questions. So, try to solve them and put it in the comments if we are able to solve it. Let's go. Start. Alright, so here we are with the while loops. Now, first, when we break down the word while loops, we know that loops are nothing but something which repeats continuously forever and ever and ever. Now, let's try taking that looping thing and put it under a condition. Okay, so we go like in this case, while loops works like that. So we say that while there is a condition which is true, please keep running the below code. And once the condition becomes false, you stop running the loop. Basically, this while loop works on a condition, and we need to define when is it going to stop. So let's see that with a small code here. We start by defining a variable, let's say. So I'm having a variable I equals to say 1. Now what's the syntax of a while loop? We first give the term while, then we define the ending point, like where is it supposed to stop. So I'm going to say that I less than 6. Now basically my intention is to print numbers from 1 to 5. And in this case, I have given a condition saying that variable I should have the values which are always less than 6. That's my condition. And if it is yes, then print I. Let's run this. But there's an issue. You see what's happening here? We are printing 1 continuously. There's no end to that. We keep printing it 1. And it's happening like forever. It doesn't stop at all. Now let's understand the definition behind it. So when we say while something is true, you keep printing, and yes, I is less than 6. In this case, I is nothing but 1, and we agree that 1 is less than 6. So this condition is basically true. So since it is a loop, it always checks, okay, this is a true condition, so let me print I. I is nothing but 1, so it gets printed. And we keep looping that forever and ever and again. So this leads us to something that's called infinite loop. And this is what is mostly encountered, and we have to be very careful while creating a while loop like this. Let me terminate the cell here. And let's see now, what is the solution? How do you get rid of this loop? The only way is to increment your I variable. Now, you see, when I talk about I equals to 1, I have to make sure that we keep increasing the value of I and try to get above 6 so that the condition becomes false. So we go like while I is less than 6, colon enter, then we print I. Till there it's okay. Next, to increment your I variable. Incrementing is nothing but you want to keep adding values to that variable. Now we know that I is currently having 1, so let me just say that I equals to I plus 1. This is the easiest way of writing it. So what are we doing in this case? Let's understand. So when we say I was 1, in the first loop, I meaning 1 is less than 6, which is a true condition, and we print 1. Then in the next line, we are saying, okay, whatever was my I value, which was nothing but 1, we say 1 plus 1, right? It becomes 2. Now, remember that I is having an updated value as 2 in it. Okay, so let's keep for a record, we'll just say that I equals to 2. Now, having said that, since it's a loop, we're going to loop again, and in this condition, 2 is less than 6 because I was currently updated as 2, so it is 2 less than 6, which is also a true condition. And when we print 2, followed by, we then increment I again. So previous I value was 2. So 2 plus 1 becomes 3. I give you a 3. Now my current I value is 3. Now you see how it's getting there? We loop again, and then 3 is less than 6, which is a true condition. And this keeps happening. Let's imagine that we've come across a point where we have incremented I up to 6. Okay, now the loop runs again and it checks, is 6 less than 6? Is that still a true condition? No, it becomes false because 6 is not less than 6, it's equal. And in that scenario, we come out of the loop and loop terminates. So let's run this code and see. And there it is printing me 1 2 3 4 and 5, right? So basically this is a basic while loop where you're giving while and then the condition until when it is going to be true, and then while it is happening, while it is running, we are currently printing the values and at the same time handling my variable, so that at some point we keep incrementing and crossing the condition to make it false, and try not to get a infinite loop here, right? Now, next up, we are having second question where we are trying to print only even numbers through a loop. Let's just take with a basic example that too. So let's make our variable, usual variable. I'm gonna start with I equals to 2 because we want to print from 2 onwards. In the next line, let's write our basic syntax of while loop. So we go like while I is less than equals to, let's say, 10. I wanted to take only even numbers from 1 to 10 per se. And in that case, 10 would be my target number. Then we're going to say that print I, okay, and let's increment I by 1 this time and just see what it gives me. So clearly it starts from 2 and then it keeps going till 10 because we said less than equals to this time, and just prints me everything from 2 to 10. But my question was to get only even numbers. So even numbers are nothing but like this: 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10, right? It means like after 2, which is my starting value, after the starting value, I have to keep skipping every second occurring number. So instead of saying I equals to I plus 1, let's say I plus 2 and run this again. So we get this. Now let's try understanding how it's happening. So first it prints me 2, which is basic and simple. Then I say that, okay, whatever 2 you had, now just say 2 plus 2. Now you see, it becomes 4. I becomes 4, loop runs again, so 4 is less than equals to 10, true. It's going to print you 4. Again, previous I value was 4, so 4 plus 2 gives you 6. And plus 2 keeps happening so that we keep incrementing 2 steps, right? So that's basically how you find even numbers with a basic while loop condition. Now, with the user input, let's try a small method over here. I'm going to make a variable that's called input, and I'm going to just declare it to be a string and leave it blank. Okay, there is like nothing stored in the variable, but I have defined there is a variable which is going to carry strings, and I'm going to just leave it blank. Next, we're going to write a while loop. We're going to say that while this input doesn't match with the word Sneha, let's say that I'm taking a name Sneha. If it is not matching the name Sneha, it is going to keep asking for the user's input. So it's going to be like input, enter your name, right? And in the next, we're going to keep printing this. So we say that print, um, you have mentioned, and we can say that whatever they've mentioned, the input value. So what does it mean now? Well, how does it loop work in this case? So basically, whenever an input is being entered, it has to always keep checking for the only text which is called Sneha. And if it is not finding the text Sneha entered by the user, it is going to keep running this line, meaning it is going to keep asking the user for entering an input. Okay, let me run this. So it says enter your name. This time, let's say I'm not entering my name, okay? I'm going to just say that XYZ, press enter. So it says you have mentioned XYZ, enter your name. So let's go with like capital S NEHA because I have defined here to be small letter, but I've given capital. Let's see if it works. No, it doesn't. And it says that please enter your name. So thing is that we know that Python is case sensitive. So we have to enter the same way. So I'm going to enter your SNEHA in small letters and press enter. And you have mentioned Sneha, and then there it is, end of it. So we stop the loop there, and this is how it keeps on asking the user for an user input. Okay, next let's talk about using loop control statements. So loop control statements are basically that's going to control the loops, how they're going to work on different conditions. So let's start with the very first statement that's called break. So I'm going to write a loop here. Let's say that I equals to 2, and then we go with the while loop. So we'll say that while I is less than 10, and I'm intending here to print all the numbers from 1 to 10. But I have a condition in my mind. I'm going to say that if I matches to 5, okay, it means while looping, okay, it starts with 2, right? So while looping, once it reaches to the I becomes 5, I want it to kind of break the statement, break the loop, and come out of it. So I say if I double equals to 5, this is an if condition. We say that colon enter, and we say here break. Okay, I also need to enter that it has to print the answers for me. So now I am coming out of the condition. See, I run the condition is over. It is going to check if I reaches to 5 or not, and then it is going to break the loop. But the thing is that we need to keep seeing the output as well, right? So let's get out of the if condition, and I'm going to say here print I, okay, so that I can see that what number is currently going on. And how is the number going to increment from 2 to 5? We need to write that as well. We should not forget about incrementer. So we go like I equals to I plus 1. Okay, let me run this. So we can see that it prints you 2, 3, 4, and the moment it reaches 5, it is going to break out of your loop and going to come out. Okay, so what is new in this case? So let me just remove this extra code and just validate our the code here. We can see that we have written a basic condition that should be less than 10. We printed I and we incremented I, which is a basic code that I've given here. See, if I run it, what it is giving me from 2 to 10. But my condition was to break your loop at a specific point. I mean, I have to come out of the loop at a specific point. So in this case, I mentioned about a condition. I said that if I matches 5 while running it, then it has to break. So break, this word is not made up by me. It is a keyword for the loops, and in this case it is going to control the loop by breaking it at that specific condition. So breaking is basically coming out of the loop. So let me run this again, and you can see it prints you 2, 3, and 4. Try by yourself. The common mistakes that we see here happening is basically the indentation gaps. So understand like when the gap is needed. When you give extra gap, now what happens if I give an extra indentation gap before print, like right here? So we are saying that if I equals to 5, obviously you break, but then also print. It means it is not going to keep printing while the loop runs. It is only going to print when I becomes 5. So understand, this print statement is currently under your if condition. You can see that tab space. So I'm going to click here and come out by pressing a backspace button just to be in the same line of if. Okay. So we are not anymore under the if condition. So our loop will be running this line, and then it goes in the next line and then runs the next line step by step in a sequence, right? Understand the technicality of the code so that you remember it better. So, and this way it prints you the numbers. So now let's see continue as well. So in this case, I'm going to do the similar thing that we did with break, but let's see what continue really means. So I'm going to start with making a variable I equals to 1 followed by a while loop. So let's say while I is less than equals to 10, let's say. And now I'm going to increment my I variable. So I plus equals to 1. So basically we are incrementing it. Now before I print the values, I'm going to give a condition here again. So if I matches with 5, then I'm not going to break it this time, but I'm rather going to say continue. Okay. And then obviously I need to print the numbers. So I'm going to come out of the if condition and say print I. Now what is going to happen? Let's run this. Okay, we see that I was stored as 1, and then I have made it incremented by 1 before I print it. So it prints me from 2 and it goes still. So we have 2, 3, 4. There is no 5. There is 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, 11. But there is no 5 here. The reason being is that continue basically skips that specific condition where I've given the value. So it says that if I is matching with 5, skip it and then continue. I hope that's clear. Now, we'll be seeing another topic that says else with while loop. So it is pretty like your if conditions only. So let's say that I'm having a loop here. So I'm saying that let's make a variable. So I equals to, let's say, 4, followed by a while loop. So the while, or maybe I'm going to say that, okay, let's go with this. So I less than 10, colon, enter. We say print I, and then obviously to ignore your infinite loop, I'm going to increment my one I variable. So this is what it prints you from 4 to 9. Sweet, nice, good. Now where does else play the role? So else basically is that if the condition is like, if the condition is not true, if it's false, then what you're going to do, it means that while I'm incrementing I, so I have incremented till 9, right? Then I loop again and I'm incrementing 9 to 10. So is 10 less than 10? No, the condition is false. In that situation, this else will work, and you say that print, let's say that the condition became false. Okay, I run this. So obviously it will print this else statement because at some point your condition is becoming false. So we say I equals to 4, good. 4 is less than 10, yes it is. So print me if I, so it prints you 4, good. Then we say that increment I now. It means I have to keep adding plus 1 to your 4. So I add plus 1, it becomes 5. Loop runs again, it still did not enter inside else. The loop runs again, and 5 is less than 10, etc., etc. And when we have I as 10, obviously the loop doesn't satisfy with that, so I is certainly not less than 10. In that case, we enter into else condition, and we say that print the condition became false, and hence it gets printed. So that's all about while loops. We have seen the syntax of a while loop, and let's just check the definitions once very quickly. So definition says a while loop repeats a block of code as long as the given condition is true. So does it make sense here? So it keeps looping while it is true, keeps looping until it becomes false. And there is a chance that we saw that we can occur an infinite loop. So we have seen that condition as well. And we have seen that how you can use user input along with the while loop, followed by there are some loop control statements like break, continue, and then we also saw what is while with else. So these were some topics on while loops. I hope you've understood. Now let's try these two questions. Let's take them as a homework. So the first question is taking the sum of numbers from 1 to 100. So using your while loop, you have to try taking sum of the numbers from 1 to 100. Okay, so imagine of having a variable. First store the variable, make second variable to store the sum. That's a hint. And for the second question, we talk about guessing game. You can see the hint has already been given. It's called user input. So try to ask the user and see that if it is going to guess it correctly, like we were guessing with our name. If it is guessing our name right, if it says Sneha, then we are proceeding, we stop the loop there. Else we keep on asking the question like please input. So this is that guessing game that we have to print. These are two cool questions that we can try here. All right, so that's all with the while loop. Make sure to subscribe, like, and share, and comment so that I can know that if we are understanding the programs or not.